Do you think that you could survive getting stabbed with a giant pirate hook or having a lava spear jammed through your chest? What about drowning not 1, not 2, but 8 separate times? No? Well, me neither, but turns out that there's actually a ton of characters in One Piece that should have absolutely kicked the bucket by now, but somehow they managed to survive anything and everything, sometimes having a little bit too much plot armor. So here are all One Piece characters that should absolutely not be alive right now, and why, starting with the man of the hour, the single most controversial living character in One Piece. I'm of course talking about the man who inspired this entire video idea, Pell. You remember our pal Pell. He's one of King Cobra's head guards in Alabasta and is one of the most legendary devil fruit users because only 5 flying devil fruits exist in the world. To begin with, what a lot of nonsense that one was, but that's not the point right here. The real issue, Pell survived Sir Crocodile's time bomb, an explosive that was rigged to destroy the entire city of Alabasta. And I mean, I don't know how else to put this, like, that's dumb. And it forms the basis for something that I'm gonna talk about a lot today. The Will of P. Short for the Will of Pell, it's a fan phrase that's used to describe the most nonsensical plot armor in One Piece. Because, let's face it, Oda really doesn't like killing off his characters. It is exactly why Pell survived, because he just didn't want to kill off a character like that. But the problem is, he absolutely should. I mean, sacrifices are amazing. It's a huge narrative tool that builds stakes, has weight, and makes a great character a legendary one. Now, Pell here was a member of the Royal Guard, someone with heavy ties to our own crew and especially Vivi. His job literally was to defend Alabasta at all costs, and he did exactly that. That is amazing, and it is the perfect wrap on his entire character purpose. But you know what isn't? Our sick Falcon Man over here is just tanking a massive bomb that could level an entire city somehow, so sure, that's sick that you're that tough, I guess, apparently, but it makes absolutely no
Blackbeard
sense. Sorry, Birdman, I think you and me both know that you should have died, and honestly, I'm sorry for your character arc that you didn't end up doing that. But of course, Pell is far from the only person who should have died, but didn't. There are a bunch of these characters throughout the series that quite frankly have no business still being around. For example, before Pell, we had Mary. You know, the man that made the Going Merry the goat boat. No, like, literally, it's a goat boat and the greatest to ever do it. You see, that ship actually knew how to die with honor, and it was absolutely amazing, but the man it's named after, not so much. He got completely torn up, sliced, diced, and shredded by Captain Kuro. He was a good man and did so much for the entire crew, Usopp, and obviously Kaya. And when he got mangled by the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, it had a lot of weight. It was fearsome, brutal, and helped build up Kuro as a real threat to Luffy. Not only was he fierce and powerful, but it turns out that this pirate was absolutely ruthless. And so killing Mary would have really established him as a solid villain, but Mary living totally undoes all of that. It kind of waters down Kuro a little bit and takes away some of the real tragic aspects of storytelling that would have made Mary an absolutely fantastic character. Let's be honest, at least the live action had the balls to really kill him off. It's one of the best changes I think that it made, and I do hope that they will do the exact same thing with Pell in Alabasta in season 2 as well. So who knows, maybe you will actually die, Captain Falcon, someday soon. But that's enough about our animals that should have been murdered. Let's instead talk about some people for a change. You know, spread the love a little bit. Besides, I can't spend too much time on this anyways, or PETA will get mad at me as well. So let's go talk about Pagaya. And plain and simple, this guy is a classic case of a good dad dying because he was about to do the right thing. To quickly remind you who this guy is, because I think 99% of people forgot, or in case you're one of the really weird fans who skipped Skypiea, which you absolutely should go watch or read if you haven't, because it's just so heavily tied into the final arc of One Piece. Pagaya is this nice old man with a fun beard and silly helmet. Genuinely, he's a pretty stand-up guy. He saves his daughter and is about to go spread the word about Enel destroying the Skypieans when suddenly a massive lightning strike should have absolutely decimated this old man. Again, it's a moment that sets up Enel as an even greater threat and really randomly shows off his insanely powerful ranged attacks and the abilities of his Logia Devil Fruit, but apparently they aren't that powerful after all, because Pagaya over here tanked that massive lightning bolt and fell into the clouds like it was nothing. And then he just randomly shows up at the end of the arc and parties with everyone else. Like, what the shanks? And while we're here talking about Skypiea, I also have to talk about the god of the country, Gunfall, as well. You see, this mercenary Jiza, who's a different old Jiza than the other one, was the former king of Skypiea and one of the Straw Hats' allies during their battle with God Enel. Now, this guy really had all the perfect makings of a tragic character who fell from grace and could help get his revenge and save his country at the cost of his own life. Something that we all genuinely thought happened until he was just taking a little nap after getting blasted once again by the lightning god's 200 million with an M Vault blast. Like, that should have burned his nerves, boiled his blood, and completely destroyed every functioning part of his body, but nope. Apparently nobody dies from this, and he's just been chilling right here. He even became God again, so I guess good for you, old man. But you and I both know that you really cheated death right here. One day, it will come for you. Watch out, the live action isn't gonna treat you as well as the actual story will. But next up, we've got everyone's favorite bouncy bad boy Bellamy, that's a lot of B's, who had an absolutely wonderful character arc going from villain to a real hero, and when it comes to growth, really, nobody in the story has done it better than him. But here's the deal. Nobody should walk out of Doflamingo's puppet strings alive, especially after being broken and beaten down and then having to face off against Luffy. I mean, you get me, right? Like, obviously Luffy isn't a murderer, but it could and should have been a wonderful lesson about how truly evil his enemies actually are, especially a complete straight up psychopath like the heavenly demon Doflamingo. And actually, while we're here in the new world, let's actually bounce forward a little bit in time and talk about Wano, an arc that actually did really step it up when it comes to deaths in the story, obviously with huge deaths like Ashura Doji, Izo, and even Basil Hawkins. Oda actually decided it was now somewhat time for some people to actually hit the ground and build some stakes. But also amongst them, there are definitely a few people who didn't die but should absolutely have done so. So let's do a little bit of a Wano Kuni special speedrun here, starting with literally all of the Red Scabbards and especially Kinemon. Kinemon. Talk about people who were way out of their league trying to square up against a literal Emperor of the Sea, and then especially Kinemon surviving his 1 versus 1 against Kaido. Like, none of you should have walked out of that interaction alive. Not to mention that all of you should have been drained of your lives and turned into flowers by Green Bull after that as well. And how about X-Drake? I'm pretty sure that Oda just decided to switch him and Basil Hawkins up at the last minute. Like, remember the prophecy that said that you should have died? And I absolutely agree. Also, King and Queen both absolutely should have died to Green Bull's attack. I mean, logically, Kaido was gone, they were in chains, and they were highly wanted criminals to begin with. And apparently he then just lets them live and drains them only a little bit. Like, that's pretty stupid. They were sliced down, burned, beaten into a pulp by Sanji and Zoro days prior, and now you're telling me you don't just take out the trash afterwards? Honestly, like, just put them out of their misery, Admiral. Do your job, man. Like, what are you even doing here? There's also a bunch of ambiguous deaths in Wano that I feel we should talk about a little bit more as well. And here I'm kind of talking about deaths that should have been absolutely confirmed by now, but somehow haven't been. For example, Black Maria. The giant spider lady here got her back snapped in half by Nico Robin. Demonio Fleur absolutely shattered her spine, but most of the Tobiropos seem to survive, so odds are that she's alive, but she really shouldn't be. Unless I guess she's in a huge spider wheelchair right now, which somehow is even more dark. Also, a quick side note, the same actually applies to Spandam here as well. The fact that he is alive just completely mocks any of Robin's powers. Anyways, back to Wano, because we have to talk about Big Mom and Kaido, because those two giants better actually be out of the game for good. And to just drive home how dead these guys should be, let's look at this list. Big Mom was stabbed several times, had her internal organs and nervous system electrocuted and beaten by Haki thanks to Law, was brutally run over by a motorcycle and beaten by all of Kid's punk attacks, and then shot into the fucking planet with a massive laser beam. Then we have Kaido, who was sliced by Zoro, beaten with thousands of Ryo-infused punches, and then used as a jump rope, punctured by lightning bolts, and bounced around Onigashima at near light speed by the literal sun gods. And then just for good measure, I guess, Kaido was also slammed into the Earth's core by a fist the size of a freaking island. If you're telling me that you can survive all of that and not die, then nothing in this series makes any sense anymore. Like, they really have no reason to come back into the story at this point. Their character arcs are completely done, except maybe Big Mom and the Elbafs thing. Oh god. They've become stepping stones for Law, Kid, and Luffy, and really they serve no more real purpose being alive. Besides, I don't know, I guess maybe selling stick Kaido figurines, but they can just keep making those and they'll sell regardless. So please, Oda, please keep these characters dead. And we haven't even gotten to the Straw Hats or some other major main characters yet, and you're already kind of seeing the trend here, right? But don't worry, when we get to those guys, it really gets insane that the story even exists anymore in the first place. But I hear you guys, sometimes living is actually good. Sometimes you have to let characters somehow barely escape death for the plot to move forward. And I do have to admit that there are some characters who make this concept a little bit funky. I'm talking about characters that should be dead, but narratively, it does make a lot of sense to keep them alive. These are characters like Bon Clay, who after facing off with Magellan's poison, definitely should not be alive right now, but with a possible return to Impel Down on the horizon, Bon Clay's return may actually be crucial. And the very same thing can definitely be said about the former giant marine Jaguar D. Saul. Now, I'm personally somewhat 50-50 on this guy. On the one hand, Saul was frozen solid by Aokiji and on the island of Ohara during the Buster Call that destroyed pretty much all of it. He has pretty much no business being alive, and really his tragic death added a ton to Robin's backstory. You know, the inherited will that Saul passed down to her shapes her entire life. She's carrying the will of a country and the man who saved her life, and to take one of those things away from her does kind of water down the weight of his supposed death a little bit. So again, logically and narratively, Saul being alive doesn't really make that much sense. But then again, I do have to admit, getting to see a Robin cry insanely happy tears when Vegapunk informed us that he was still alive, that was really heartwarming. It was a really great moment, and it makes the Elbaf and Akkad arcs have some sort of sweet and kind aspect to them as well. Which honestly, during the insane final phase of this arc, is a much needed breath of fresh air. Not to mention, there's definitely something to be said about Kuzan from this interaction as well. It kind of hints at Garp still being alive after he froze him, and it also does fall in line with him freezing Luffy and Robin on Long Ring Long Island as well, and both of them surviving. So it does make sense that Saul is alive, as it helps humanize Aokiji as well. So really, he's a bit of an odd case here, but with everything taken into account, he still should be dead. At least in my humble opinion, but I don't mind that he's still around. And then Law and Kid. Both of them are also a couple of oddballs when it comes to death and dying. Both of them have been tossed through the ringer and admittedly shouldn't still be alive, right? I mean, let's start with Kid, because he's a little bit easier to argue for here. Shanks ruined his entire existence. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. You saw what happened with his divine departure and then what the Giants did as well. Like, that was a swift slice that sent him straight to hell. And then Dorian Broggy came in with the ludicrous Hakoku sovereignty to just obliterate his ship, the Victoria Punk. Him and his entire crew sank into the ocean, and as a Devil Fruit user, if Kid survived that blast, it would kind of ruin the whole power system and make me take Shanks a lot less seriously. In a way, it's also a really big lesson and a necessary tool to show the shift in tone going into the final part of the series. series. There's no more setup, people are gonna struggle, and bodies are actually gonna hit the floor, or the seafloor in this case. Now, Law, on the other hand, he's a little bit harder. And admittedly, I'm a little bit biased here because Law is just way more interesting to me and a lot more complicated as a character compared to a useless mid over here. But during Dressrosa and then onwards, there are actually a bunch of moments that logically he shouldn't have walked out of alive. Here's another quick list. He was shot, lost an arm, and then got flattened like a pancake. I mean, look me in the eyes and tell me that that makes sense. Not to mention that Kaido and Big Mom messed him up pretty badly as well. And honestly, even though Blackbeard didn't look great after that battle, Law should have absolutely been annihilated here as well. I mean, he was literally the only character on his entire crew strong enough to even come close to facing off with the Blackbeard pirates. In my humble opinion, plot armor and popularity are the only real reasons that this man is still alive, and while I'm absolutely okay with that because I do love him to death, it doesn't change the fact that he definitely should be, well, dead. And while we're talking about plot armor in One Piece, we definitely need to talk about the Straw Hats, because it's now time for the "you're the main character, so we can't kill you off" segment of this video, because honestly, every single Straw Hat should at this point be 6 feet under. Starting with our man Usopp. He was crushed by the Frankie family, had his skull shattered by Mr. Four, nearly fell off a sky island to his death, and alongside Zoro and Sanji, should have died to Enel's overwhelmingly powerful electricity. Now, Sanji honestly doesn't get into too many crazy situations, but we all know that his Germa power awakening is the only reason that Queen didn't behead this man successfully. While Zoro, on the other hand, well, he might as well be a zombie at this point. I mean, Mihawk's slice should have absolutely killed him. He absolutely should have gone into full shock and just exploded after taking on Luffy's pain, and literally came face to face with the Grim Reaper itself after using steroids to push himself beyond human limits during the raid on Onigashima. At least there was a bit of self-awareness there with the Reaper. Not to mention, all of the alcohol that he's consumed absolutely should have caused liver failure by now. So quick public service announcement to everyone in the audience: don't drink too much because it can actually be really dangerous. Drink with moderation, and if you're underage, don't drink at all. Now, of course, there's also Robin, who should have been shot and executed several times at this point. I mean, really, there is no reason the world government shouldn't have tossed her straight into the ocean the moment that she was captured. And the fact that her body survived Aokiji's ice powers is also truly insane, though I guess he did hold back there. Yes, Gojo, I do agree. Yeah, agreed. But at the very least, I think she should have at least lost a limb or so to frostbite at some point. Now, Nami isn't any better because her Drum Island virus absolutely should have been the end for her. Not to mention that she does not use Haki and was getting beaten around by Ulti, a living ram. So how on earth did she actually walk out of that one alive? Right, Gojo? And actually, the very same thing can be said about Chopper, who has been fighting and brought around to so many different battlefields where he's just outclassed. It's not even funny at this point. And Brook is literally dead, and some weird glitch in the system is really the only reason he's still around. Like, the man has no idea how his own devil fruit works, and it shouldn't. Frankie got run over by a train. I don't know if anyone remembers that little detail. I mean, and I'll just say it, I couldn't survive that, you couldn't survive that, and frankly, Frankie really shouldn't have survived it either. And don't think you're safe just because you're new, Jinbei, because remember when Akainu literally impaled you with a flaming spear made of magma? I sure do. And the fact that before that you had been in prison at the bottom of the ocean, starving and being beaten for months, well, that's not exactly how that works medically, I guess. I mean, you should be dead. Whale shark is on the menu again, boys, for dinner, I guess. And then, of course, we do have the man of the hour, Captain Plot Armor himself, Monkey D. Luffy. And I think the D in his name really stands for denying death. But then again, Monkey D. Luffy does sound a bit like a Kirby character or something even worse. Let's not get into the rap thing. And we could not let that happen, of course. But anyway, dude, how in the world are you still alive? Is it because you're the main character? Because I'm pretty sure you're just immune to death at this point. Like, yeah, you're the protagonist, but you really love to hang out at death's doorstep, don't you? Okay, Luffy has, and get ready for this because it's a bit of a doozy, he has survived being impaled by Sir Crocodile, walked away from Buggy's execution at Loketown, was frozen solid by Aokiji, was poisoned by Magellan, has nearly drowned several times, and somehow came back to life after Guernica literally killed him during his battle with Kaido. Like, I gotta ask you seriously, Luffy, did you eat like some green mushrooms? Do you have a fairy in a bottle with you? Did you collect 100 coins? Like, how many extra lives do you have, dude? I mean, is One Piece actually just an elaborate isekai at this point? Because all I know is that Luffy should be dead. But yeah, I'm of course just playing with you guys. I'm happy that all the Straw Hats are still alive, except Usopp. He should die. And all of this talk about death is actually getting somewhat dark, so if you're in a really edgy and creepy mood right now, you should really check out this video right here about some of the darkest One Piece theories out there. Like, we have a lot of cannibalism, trafficking, and definitely a lot more deaths in this video for you on the table. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and an extra big thank you to the first wave of people who signed up to my new Patreon. I mean, you guys are insane. You're the best. If you do enjoy what we do here on the channel, you can now not only support our work here, but more importantly, also get access to a bunch of really cool and unique perks, like access to our fantastic artwork, monthly Patreon exclusive content, updates, and so much more. So if you're interested, you can click right here to check it out. Your support really means a lot, and I will hopefully see your name right here in the next one.